What is up, guys? It's your boy GRC. We're coming at you live every single day, 11 a.m. Eastern. Sam Stolt will be back in the office, I think, tomorrow, which will be extremely ecstatic for me because I love his insight and he keeps me moving forward. He keeps me strong. He keeps me locked and loaded. Can't wait to have Sam Stolt back here. We got a lot to talk about today, guys. But first, I want to run through crypto in 2022, the biggest moments on Capitol Hill. I want to play this first because it's 12 minutes and we're going to get everyone in here. I'm going to be chilling with the chat and I'm going to be commenting on this. This has a lot of implications for right now. There's stuff going on with legislation right now, and this kind of rounds it out for the whole year. And then we can like pick it apart as we go, because as we know, crypto changes every single day. So if you're not paying attention, at least to a degree, every single day and every single, staying in the mainstream, you're going to fall behind because they change these nuanced points very quickly. The Howey test goes from no proof of work of others to no entity that has a large amount of money in it. Very quick. And it's like the verbiage change. Gary Gensler, whatever he's saying changes. It all changes. Is Bitcoin a security? Who knows what they're going to end up doing on that? Because once they find out that it's centralized by some people, if they don't like those people, I think they I don't know. Is Bitcoin truly decentralized as well? Is most of the supply centralized to a degree where it makes too much of a difference for too many people, for too many actors? It would feel like yes, but I don't know. Is Ethereum a security? It seems like it from all the definitions. But we're going to get into all this stuff. And then we're going to talk about BNBP, Xenfts. I'm going to give you everything for the day. I'm not talking about this FUD. I'm not talking about all these grown men crying about whatever. I don't know about all that stuff. All I know is what's going on right now. We stay in the wavelength. We push forward. We do not bow down to all this emotional turmoil from people making bad decisions for the last couple of years. I slept 8 hours every single day in the last couple of years. I'm locked in, baby. Crypto in the morning, guys. Let's just get it going right now. This is big. This is crypto in 2022, the biggest moments on Capitol Hill. Okay, share this out. Let people know we're in here. We got a lot to talk about. I'm talking about Richard Hart FUD today too, and Hex FUD. Less about Richard, more about the Hex FUD, all of the stuff, all Pulse Bitcoin. Xenfts, all this stuff. Grown men are losing their minds. And it's because times are changing. And it's because people are waking up to some realities in the world. And we'll talk about that in detail as we go, because I know a lot about the subject because I've been right in the thick of it for 300 days, 400 days. So let's get it. I want to see biceps and likes, guys. Come on, let's get it. It's Tuesday. Is it Wednesday? Who knows what day it is? Let's get it.
There's a lot of discussion about whether we should regulate certain cryptocurrency as commodities or securities. What do you think might the benefits? And maybe you could talk just a little bit about that. What are the drawbacks, things like that?
When you look at cryptocurrencies in general, I've always viewed them like financial stem cells. They're kind of more fundamental than a particular category like a currency or a commodity. And really, it depends on the markets they're traded on and the use and utility that they have. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what public policy considerations are you attempting to satisfy? Is it sanctions compliance? Is it consumer protection? Is it market stability? What we do as an industry is we're all about transparency. So it's kind of funny, we're talking and debating about disclosure regimes. There's no other financial asset in the world that really is as transparent as a cryptocurrency. Every transaction from the very beginning for Bitcoin, for example, from January 3rd, 2009 is known. Every single one, the holdings of the founder are known because all of these things are publicly available to everybody. So it's more about, in my view, understandability and the tooling required to make this work on a global basis. So I don't think it would be wise to say, well, is it a security or a commodity or fall into this temptation?
I'm not the healthiest guy on the planet, that's for sure. But I have some tips and tricks that can make your life feel a lot better with very little effort. It's more about understanding why things happen. I'll get into that at the very end. I love that question, Edwin. And I have a lot of good ones. I'll just give you a little rundown. Sleep is number one. Sleep is number one. Sleep is my number one. Everything. Obviously, you need some food and water. Minimal. Sleep is everything. Sleep will make you dominate everyone in your circle. It's the one thing that gets left behind for a lot of guys that are really successful.
Temptation of who's the more permissive regulator or what is the regulatory arbitrage, but rather just take a step back. These things are publicly available to everybody. So it's more about, in my view, understandability and the tooling required to make this work on a global basis. So I don't think it would be wise to say, well, is it a security or a commodity, or fall into this temptation of who's the more permissive regulator or what is the regulatory arbitrage, but rather just take a step back and say, what things do we want to guard against? And we now have 13 years of history as an industry of, I think, 6 or 7 collapses, a whole bunch of interesting new things like NFTs that have always pushed the limit, and a global marketplace with more than 100 million people floating around that we can draw from, and we can look on a case-by-case basis and build a framework that makes sense.
Chairman Gensler, in your written statement, you acknowledged, as you have in the past, that there are some tokens that are not securities. And I know your view that whether or not a digital asset is a security is a facts and circumstances analysis. I know your view that the SEC has very broad authority.
Now, my friend Lane sent me this. My friend Lane, you guys know Lane. He tweets Richard Hart every single day. He's a young man. He follows the show. He tries to get Richard to come on the show. We'll pull those up at the end. And so this is kind of where I wanted to get into. They're going to get into the weeds here. I've listened to all of this, but I haven't seen it chopped up. So I've watched like the long version of all this stuff. And I think I remember this part. And I think I remember Gary Gensler gets a little tied up here. I remember Gensler getting completely tied up. And I remember thinking there's some nuance here. There really is some nuance here, because Gensler, I mean, he wrote the book, right? And I'm not saying whether he's evil or not. I don't give a shit. I'm trying to figure out what they're going to do. Okay, so let's see. This guy right here, Mr. Toomey, is legit. Like, he's my favorite guy. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but he asks really good questions.
But you've also made it clear in the past that Bitcoin,
Case-by-case basis, and build a framework that makes sense.
Chairman Gensler, in your written statement, you acknowledged, as you have in the past, that there are some tokens that are not securities. And I know your view that whether or not a digital asset is a security is a facts and circumstances analysis. I know your view that the SEC has very broad authority. But you've also made it clear in the past that Bitcoin is not a security. Now, some SEC staff have also previously said that Ethereum is not a security. The SEC's DAO report characterizes Ethereum as decentralized. So here's my question briefly, and without getting deep into the weeds on this, and I acknowledge your belief that most tokens have a large degree of central control, but generally speaking, is it fair to say that a significant factor for you in whether or not a digital asset is a security is whether it is centrally controlled or decentralized?
Well, I look to the Supreme Court that's often written about this, probably close to a dozen times in 50 years. And it's whether the investing public is anticipating profits, and that includes anticipating profits from appreciation as well as from, as you mentioned, rights, based upon a common enterprise, but
Right.
the efforts of that common enterprise.
Right. So I guess another way to put my question, which you haven't answered, is it possible to have a common enterprise if it's something is decentralized? How could I have a common enterprise? I mean, it doesn't isn't centralization necessary to constitute a common enterprise?
And this is tricky. Look at his hand. Look at his hand, guys. Watch his hands. Generally, when you're a robot and a hard question gets asked, you do some of this. Something in the capacity of the fingers. They're very thin. So robots go like this when there's a tough question. We should probably wait for STOLT to get into all that, because he's got some really good tips as well. But check the hands. This means the question's hard, though. This is a tough question because I don't know how I would answer it depending on what side I was on. So check those hands, though. I'm telling you, check them hands.
You could have some things that are quite open, but still have, if the public is anticipating a profit based upon that common enterprise. So I'm being careful with my words here to be accurate as best I can. The common enterprise, are you relying on a group of individuals? And look, these are not laundromat tokens. There is
No,
a
I
group
understand,
of
but
people that are
you're not
actually.
answering my question though. But so let me try it this way. What is it about Bitcoin that causes you to conclude it is not a security?
Well, one is there's no group of individuals in the middle.
Right. It's
There's no
decentralized.
group of individuals in the middle.
Right.
That are basically, and you're not, in essence,
So
the investing public's not betting on somebody in the middle or 6 people in the middle.
So you're choosing not to use the term decentralized, but that's what you're describing. It is the decentralized nature of Bitcoin, I think, is really what you're getting at.
Can you speak about?
All right. Well, we'll talk for a second. See, tough question. There's 2 aspects to this. There's centralization within the distribution pattern and the finances, and then there's centralization as a DeFi situation. So there's you can have your own keys and your own coins in a immutable smart contract, but who has 90% of it? Who is controlling all that money? Who is earning money on all that volume? Who is the guy that is making all the money? They don't want it to be a guy who's not in line with whatever the F they're doing. And especially if they're doing whatever. So it's important. If 99% of Bitcoin was owned by 2 dudes, but it was still DeFi, whatever, it wouldn't make any sense for them to continue. So it has a lot to do. And they're learning that this was way from before. They're learning the difference between distribution method and distribution of finances within a DeFi system where you can earn yield through liquidity providing in a decentralized manner. There's a difference. A big difference. And then centralized exchanges get thrown into that mix, which makes it even more complicated. But we can talk about that later.
How federal regulation of crypto trading platforms under the Commodity Exchange Act is related to market transparency and ultimately to ensuring that retail investors have access to the information they need to properly weigh the risk involved.
Thank you, Congresswoman. I appreciate the question. In thinking about spot markets, say in particular, and overlap of an issue that we are focused on for derivatives products, deals with the concept or the prospect around leverage, an understanding by the individual investor, particularly where that individual investor is a retail participant, that they know and appreciate the risk of trading, while there may be good upside for putting, say, 50 cents down and having $1 worth of a position, there's incredible downside if the market moves against your position. So at CFTC, we're focused not only on market integrity, that we want to have a centralization or a place where market participants can come together and understand what the pricing is, but we also look to have a system of intermediary oversight that focuses on retail market participants, say in particular, with a disclosure regime that informs those market participants sort of based on who they're dealing with. So for example, if it's a commodity trading advisor or a commodity pool operator, that the risks of that trading strategy are disclosed, as well as associated fees. Those are disclosed. That individual market participant understands how their funds are being protected or utilized at a futures commission merchant, for example, that those funds are segregated, and how those funds can also be protected, for example, in the event of a bankruptcy. So we do look for execution certainty as well as customer protection as part of our regulatory regime, and I think that's helpful to the dialogue here.
Mr. Ray, you have compared FTX as worse than Enron. Can you please elaborate on some of the specific ways FTX is worse than one of the largest corporate frauds in history?
The FTX group is unusual in the sense that, I've done probably a dozen large, scale.
All right, that was a mouthful, man. Yes, these lawyers speak human language. Oh, I'm gonna have to go back. This is important, and we're gonna get on to some other things here shortly. So just know that this it's almost the end of the year. I got to round out the thoughts on all this stuff, and I did watch all this stuff, but they're like months in between, and we have more coming up too. Trust me that. But let's listen to this part one more time, and then look at the hands. And very active with those hands. Very active.
Trading platforms under the Commodity Exchange Act is related to market transparency and ultimately to ensuring that retail investors have access to the information they need to properly weigh the risk involved.
Thank you, Congresswoman. I appreciate the question. In thinking about
PW. Again, I don't know exactly who PW is, but he's a supporter of the show, and he drops alpha bombs pretty heavy, constant. So I can kind of catch a beat on people from the things they know. I have made millions of dollars in crypto since 2017, and find GRC pretty dead on with his goals in here. That is why I watch daily. Hey, this is a millionaire right here. Dude's got more money than me. He thinks that I'm on a good pace because of my goals, because of my mission. My mission is to help as many people understand this stuff as I can before eventually my business goals will have to change. But while I'm here, let's get into it. Let's get a reputation going. It's not hard to find these good gems. I've had 3 cryptos that I've literally bought in my life. 4. BNBP, one of them. And 3 others like this. You think I'm finding new cryptos that I like every day? You think me calling out Richard 100 times is fun for me? No, it's really not. I wish everyone was on the same team, but the truth is the truth, and the truth always wins, my friends. The truth always wins. Is how it goes, because it has legs to stand on. And that's why I don't take money. That's why I don't do shit. It's not because I don't want money. It's not because I couldn't use some money. It's because I don't want to dilute my mission. And I know how this shit goes. I've seen it. Too many men dilute their mission and become fucking morsels of a man. The opposite of what God wanted them to be. And it happens on repeat with no emotional fitness all around the world. I'm sick of it. I want morals back. I want standards.
Markets, say in particular, and overlap of an issue that we are focused on for derivatives products, deals with the concept or the prospect around leverage, an understanding by the individual investor, particularly where that individual investor is a retail participant, that they know and appreciate the risk of trading. While there may be good upside for putting, say, 50 cents down and having $1 worth of a position, there's incredible downside if the market moves against your position. So at CFTC, we're focused not only on market integrity, that we want to have a centralization or a place where market participants can come together and understand what the pricing is, but we also look to have a system of intermediary oversight that focuses on retail market participants, say in particular, with a disclosure regime that informs those market participants sort of based on who they're dealing with. So for example, if it's a commodity trading advisor or a commodity pool operator, that the risks of that trading strategy are disclosed, as well as associated fees. Those are disclosed. That individual market participant understands how their funds are being protected or utilized at a futures commission merchant, for example, that those funds are segregated, and how those funds can also be protected, for example, in the event of a bankruptcy. So We do look for execution certainty as well as customer protection as part of our regulatory regime. And I think that's helpful to the dialogue here.
Mr. Ray, you have compared FTX as worse than Enron. Can you please elaborate on some of the specific ways FTX is worse than one of the largest corporate frauds in history?
The FTX group is unusual in the sense that, I've done probably a dozen large, scale bankruptcies over my career, including Enron, of course. Every one of those entities had some financial problem or another. They have some characteristics that are in common. This one is unusual, and it's unusual in the sense that literally, there's no record keeping whatsoever. It's in the absence of record keeping. Employees would communicate, invoicing and expenses on Slack, which is, essentially a way of communicating for chat rooms. They use QuickBooks, a multi-billion-dollar company using QuickBooks.
QuickBooks?
QuickBooks. Nothing against QuickBooks, very nice tool, just not for a multi-billion-dollar company. There's no independent board, right? We had one person really controlling this, no independent board. That's highly unusual in a size company this is. And it's made all more complex because we're not dealing with, widgets or, or something that's tangible. We're dealing with crypto, and the technological issues are made worse when you're dealing with an asset such as crypto. Enron was really a different company. The crimes that were committed there were highly orchestrated financial machinations.
Yes, the unregulated crypto firms.
Ms. Schultz? Conducted FTX, we all agree on that. Too many people have lost money they thought was safe. Some have suggested that what we see at FTX was unique, a one-off caused by one immoral fraudster rather than something more widespread and systemic. So starting with you, Professor Allen, does this kind of carelessness, misconduct, or worse exist at other crypto firms?
Yes.
Mr. O'Leary?
Yes, the unregulated crypto firms.
Ms. Schultz?
Most likely.
Schenken?
It's endemic.
As we've seen larger and larger issues play out in this industry over the past year, how has your concern that you expressed a year ago played out?
So in some ways, I've been heartened by the fact that the banking regulators have really kept this stuff out of the banking system. And I think that's why we're talking about the investors of FTX being harmed rather than everybody.
Now, I covered this live, and we're going to move on to Xenfts right after this. There's only a couple minutes left, guys. Hold your horses. I know it. We're going to do a deck screener degen look through as well. Okay. You just, no, Danny, you're broke. Your head's not working properly. This community has been thrown shit. No, that's the narrative that you're told. It's just a narrative. The price was going up, you would have been like, everything's great. They just create these narratives so you believe them, vampires and shit. Like, the truth is, other people build, Danny, and other people speak, and other people have freedom to do whatever the fuck they want, and that will not be silenced. But look at this girl crying like she has a gun to the back of their head. Who is paying this girl to speak right now? If it sounds like she's like, I'm going to kill your family if you don't say this really quick. Look, she's about to break down.
Everybody being harmed, but still, I mean, I think the idea that crypto is trying to disrupt banking is inaccurate. Crypto and banking would love to merge, and it's the regulators that are keeping them apart. And so as we look at the banking industry trying to dip their toes into this water, I think there are a few causes for concern. Bank of New York Mellon is custodying crypto. JP Morgan is doing trades on permissionless blockchains. So I think we need, to.
I think somebody's forcing her to say these things. Look at her. Does she look relaxed and free like God told her to send this message to the people? Or does she look like, oh my God, someone's going to get hurt. I'm scared to death. The devil's inside of me.
firm
One's in the
up
chat for
this
devil, two's in the chat for the Lord.
industry trying to dip their toes into this water. I think there are a few causes for concern. Bank of New York Mellon is custodying crypto. JP Morgan is doing trades on permissionless blockchains. So I think we need, to firm up this separation between crypto and banking in order to protect the broader financial system. But as I said, I think, banking regulation has held up pretty well so far.
Prize for crypto is to get regulated. Is that because it gives it credibility?
It can't exist for the institutional client. The potential of crypto is for it to be indexed with sovereign wealth and pension, where about 70% of the world's wealth is actually managed. There's great interest there, particularly around Bitcoin and Ethereum and a few other platforms, but they have no infrastructure to apply to their compliance platforms. When you are managing a $900 billion fund, every day you have a massive compliant infrastructure that marks to market all your positions. There is no infrastructure for crypto. I want to make a note here just around this regulatory issue that you're raising, and it's a good one. Of all the entities that went to zero, that went to bankruptcy in the FTX portfolio, the only one that is not bankrupt out of the 130 plus, and this is, probably the best evidence of why we need regulation, is LedgerX. Why? It's regulated by the CFTC. 100.
We're gonna stop it there. He starts to get. I think O'Leary's a scam artist. I think O'Leary is out of touch, and I think O'Leary got in to some shit that was a little over his head at the time, and now he's just going to backtrack for the rest of the time. He's getting older. He's still very sharp, but he's in bed with those people. They want regulations. They want regulations so that they can do business the way that they want to in our playground. Not saying that's the worst thing in the world for our bags, but the rule set can change really quick. It's important. I don't think Ethereum's going anywhere. I don't think Bitcoin's going anywhere, but it's really important to pay attention to these details because they can swing the market into a direction. And I think the people are waking up real quick to a lot of these things. Real quick, Xenfts have a trade limit. 47 minutes ago, we gotta do some Xenft talk. One's in the chat if you understand NFTs. Two's in the chat if you have no idea about what the heck is going on. Okay? You know what I'm saying? I want to know. One's in the chat. Two's in the chat. But we're going to play. This is a brand new clip. It's very short. And I like these clips because they don't copyright strike me or anything. So, and they're good as crap. So, well, they might actually. I have no idea. But Xenfts have a trade limit. This is 47 minutes ago. GymRatCrypto. Zen to the moon. Let's check it. Oh, and we'll check price charts later too. Oh, dude, why did my Zen bags doubled last night? I was like, what the fuck? My Zen bag, my liquid Zen bag, I was like, oh my God, what's going on? It's getting crazy. Yeah. Everyone be careful. Please 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 be careful. Understand and learn first. Understand and learn first. You got to do that work at some point, so do it now. Jack is very good with his content, so he gives us all the details, and all the people that do the content are very detail-oriented professionals.
So we want to avoid the situation where there's a race condition. The 7 days buffer between the so 7 days before the mint date and 7 days after the mint date, and that mint date could be 400 days, 430 days in the future, as dictated by Zen contract. So that is specifically done so that people will not be able to trade if it's a final stretch of the mint, helping the situation where there is a front run, like for example, front run situation can occur when a person like yourself or myself or anybody else out there in the marketplace put these NFT for sale, and then they immediately claim it, claim the Zen mint, and the person who is buying it will not have any Zen embedded within this NFT. So we want to avoid the situation where there's a race condition, so to speak. So the trading of the NFTs can happen up to until 7 days before maturity, and then the contract locks the transfer, so it will not be able to be sold. And this is something that we're obviously looking at places like Rarible and OpenSea, and we need to make sure that everything works properly. And of course, we always very careful with that sort of design, because we want the community to take the full advantage and not to be somehow gamed by people with quick fingers. So that's super important. That's why the 7-day buffer before it becomes mature is important, so people understand what exactly that they're buying should they end up trading those NFTs.
Right, and the NFT marketplaces are surprisingly very slow to update their systems. So we don't want to be in a situation where people buy something that's been already redeemed but doesn't show up as redeemed on the UI of the NFT platforms.
That was a good video. Does anyone know how these NFTs never stop burning? There's a lot to talk about, guys. It's getting crazy. It's hard to even. It's just a lot, man. I try to stay out of that emotional crap, though. Like everyone wants you to get into an emotional battle with them, and it's just like, no, I'm not doing that.
Combine this.
I'm not doing that shit. So MicroStrategy just came out and said that they sold a bunch of Bitcoin. And that's kind of news, but not really. Okay, let me run through everything for the day. Like all the shit that's going on. All right, let me run through like the past week and a half, 2 weeks, real quick. Oh, let me get some water. You know, Zen comes out 75, 80 days ago. 5 million VMU clicks on the front end in a day, kind of blew up, kind of went crazy. All right, so we're all just enjoying that. Then Pulse Bitcoin comes out, A6, and then simultaneously all the money is getting siphoned out of Hex into these other assets. If you kind of look on chain, and one's losing value and compared to the other, and that's when Richard will generally come out and get upset, is when the price chart starts to look in a way that makes him feel uncomfortable. And just understand, like, it has nothing to do with like this is all about ego and pride for some of these guys. Frankly, it's pretty disgusting. Real information is not really what these guys want anyone to understand. They don't think that's important. I think that's really important. I think learning all the dirty details is extremely important. And that's why when we're looking at all these assets, people are going to say, this one sucks because the price goes down. This one sucks because the price goes up, but Richard owns all of it. There's people right now trying to fix this, and they have really honest intentions. And I would focus hard on what we're learning. Do not buy into someone else's narrative that has everything that you wish you wanted. It's like Richard talks about women, sexual intercourse, like we did when we were 22. And it's like, bro, I don't need a leader of anything or a person that I'm dealing with that's talking like a child. It's just like, what is that for? Like, I can talk like that with my bros, I guess, but I don't even, because who cares? We want to be focused. We want to learn more. This is where you get your power from. Here, if you learn everything, then guys, they say, I'm so rich, I'm so this, I'm so that, and they cry every night because they don't get any poo-tang. And they say being rich is the only way to have a good time. And then you know those people by definition are stupid and that they have very little life experience, because that's just not the way the world works. And anyone who's been through horrible trials and tribulations will attest to that. I think faith, family, and morals and common sense are much more important than money, frankly. Money's really not an issue after you have a car, a house, and food. And your children are taken care of, I guess. I mean, bada boom. You get some investments going and then you're good to go. But yeah. So I would say less. I don't dislike Hex or anything, but I don't align with the mission. I don't align with the mission at all. I don't align with the mission that you're going to tell everyone that they're going to be rich forever because the price went up this much. I just don't care. It's just not my mission. But I'll still talk about it as a DeFi protocol if things in the future and Pulsechain and everything. Like, why not? And frankly, if all that shit works out, I'm going to be rich as shit. If Pulsechain and PulseX and Hex and Hedron and Icosa all work out, I am going to be rich as shit. So what do I really have to do at this point? Pump my bags, Richard. Pamp them. All right, so let's go to Dex Screener. Okay. So as you can see, guys, this is explosive, and I don't want people to freak out, but I'm not going to tell anyone to do anything because I'm not doing anything. I did everything I was going to do a while back at this point, a couple days at least. So Zen USDC, yesterday it was much less than this. I think it went up about 100% since then. All right. I'm not doing this whole chart shit. We're just looking at numbers because I hate charts. You know, I don't look at charts very often. It's stupid. Like, you don't, what do I need to look at it all the time for? The numbers are right there. So we have 1,162 transactions on Zen USDC, right? For the 24 hours. That's in 24 hours. And then on Zen ETH, there's another 1,058. And then we go down to, let's say, maxi USDC. There has been 17 buys and 9 sells in the last 24 hours. A vibrant ecosystem. And, you know, I bring this up because I see Golkey talking a lot of smack. Not about me necessarily, but just in general. And I just think he should humble up because, like, people could take him to the cleaners if they wanted to. But I like the squad, and I think things have future projection potentially. But I could also sit here and say maxi USDC has $4.8 thousand in liquidity in it, you fucking pleb. So it really just depends on framing, doesn't it? It does. So we're just going to try to be friendly and nice, especially if we have blind spots, because then guys can really get aggressive with you, and it's not fun. Nobody wants to do that, but you can't be ignorant. Hexter has been 857 transactions in the last 24 hours. Zen's murdering it. Volume on Zen 2,621,000. That's almost 3 million. That's more. Zen is officially more even on this, and it's traded on centralized. BNBP, there's a launch tonight. I'm doing a launch party for the game tonight. So Jacob's working on it right now. I was talking to him yesterday. And I'm not saying it's going to pump the price of the token. Dude, I have not looked into it enough to know that. I haven't looked at the metrics at all. I know there's stakes coming out. There's a lot of things. I would say if it's around the launch price, I think you can be fair to say you're getting a good rate. But just please be careful. It's a bear market. You got to think smart all the time. So BNBP has went from $6 to $7.57, and that's probably in anticipation for the launch, which the Telegram and a couple guys got a beat on. I got a video for that later tonight. We're partying on the channel tonight. I'll probably be giving away a bunch of money, to be honest. Who knows? I get so excited. Is there only ugly cart that Zen? I don't know. Zen has made so much money for me. It's ridiculous. Like, for nothing other than just like being proactive for a few days. Yeah. So the Xenft launch is Friday. I got a stream pending for that too. So as you can see, $248,000 in liquidity for BNBP, $4 million for good old, $4,000 for good old Maxi. Very interesting. Oh, I rugged myself, bro. Recovery time was really good, though. You're going to admit that right now, weren't you? All right. So Hex is at 2. This is right at the level that I bought Hex for the first time. So this level that Hex is at right now, I think I bought Hex for the first time, and this was probably 600 days ago. So Hex is returning to the 600 days ago level, which is normal, which kind of means that it has price word upward potential. But again, I don't really align with this whole bullshit. Now that I provide liquidity all the time, I kind of know the bullshit scam of like nobody makes money on volume, and then like, okay. So that's kind of a lie. Like Richard kind of played that like he doesn't make major money on volume, which he does. And that's why centralized entities are an issue. But he doesn't like to say it. He just says everyone's a pleb. It doesn't matter if you buy in, no slippage, blah, blah, blah. And when I questioned him, he was just like, fuck you, get out of here. So Hex chart looks like absolute murder, death. I'm not even going to pull it up. The Icosa chart, murder, death. If you're not staked, if you have liquid Icosa, I'm praying for you. Big time. But if you're staked, you're good. I hope. Hedron, nuked. Poly, there's been 15 trades out of USDC in the last fucking 24 hours. Mine as well. More in RuneScape, 3, or old school. In every minute. And remember, there's a lot of Hex that got put into that stuff. And that Hex changes value. You got to swap it back to Hex. Basically, it's just another Hex derivative that needs liquidity underneath of it to survive. And yes, it could push the distribution a little bit, but at the same time, the entities, you know how it all goes. Bro, GRC, you're slowly turning into Joker. Danny boy, you've been a Joker the whole time if you think that's true. And you being clueless about what real effort in studying looks like, about what real passion and what real, I care about this. I don't do this for money. I care about this. I care about the truth, and I really enjoy it. And Joker's never done one piece of critical thinking in his entire career, and he's ruined his reputation 180 times. I actually was the one who kicked him out of any fucking community where I was a part of. I don't know how I'm turning into Joker. You guys are dumb. Like, you just don't think smart about it. It took Joker 132 days to figure out Hedron. It took Hexo 84 days to figure out Hedron. It took, and I remember because I remember the episode where they started talking about it, and I did this. Like, I look back, and it's like I figured that stuff out in like 2 hours, and I just had the founder on, and boom. And they were like, "If you say Hedron in my chat, you're getting booted." I'm like, you guys just don't know the information, frankly. Yeah, I know. I feel like I'm the opposite of I tell the truth constantly. And I stand up for freedom constantly. And I don't accept money. That's like the opposite of Joker. All right, guys. You asked for it. Let's check out some BNBP stuff real quick, guys. You know I don't do this too often because I don't really want to promote gambling at all. But if you see here, there's a participation phase amplifier. So a lot of the times when these coins are in the beginning, you get some sort of reward for participating. And in this case, if you do some of it, like you get extra and then it distributes to everyone. But if you look here, this is the most important fact right here. This is critical. There's 2,470 individual stakes. That's a good amount. There's 756,870 BNBP staked. Okay. So that's a lot of staked action. A lot of the guys in this system are just dudes that just like to stake and sit. Obviously, like there's really only a very little amount liquid. Total value locked, 5 mil. Total BNBP staked, 77%. And they have a lot of features for the guys that just stake and stuff. So like all these like lottery, if I could perform this lottery right now, it would distribute this 6.7 to the staker class. There's burn events. So if I perform this burn event right now, 33.49 BNBP will go to the staker class. There's airdrops. Like he really took his time and went through this stuff. And he's going to be on Phantom, Polygon, Avalanche, Pulsechain. When this was originally for Pulsechain, but then he just did the pivot, and I was proud of him for doing the pivot because that's not easy to do, and it takes a lot of passion. And this is why we're excited for tonight. So tonight, and this is just for fun, guys. This is late night fun shit. I swear to God, I am not trying to make people do shit they don't like. I've never played roulette in my life, never once. I've only sports gambled and played this jackpot game. But again, you will lose your money. It's a 50-50 shot. You lose your money at a minimum. So just chill. And if you don't have funds and this is not something that you drive with, I would just please stay out of it. It's just not your place unless you want to be a staker. But once this comes out, I'm going full on Barstool Sports. I will be, when this comes out, I will be Barstool Sports. I'm going for it all. I'm going for it all. I sports gambled semi-professionally for 2 years straight. Every single day. I studied for hours. Those numbers, they're orgasmic in my head. I love, and if I have an excuse to do that in a big fat bag, I will capitalize on that. I do love the marketing ability of sports. I'm not as big of a sports fan as I used to be. Yeah, Joker put me on. I jumped on Joker's stream. He was like, you should stream for me. And I did. And we were having like 500, 600 live viewers. And then like 3 weeks later, I was like, this dude's full of shit. Like, I'm out. And then I called him out and then I just did my own thing. And he was like, I made you. And I was just like, what are you? This dude's fucking fucked up in the head. He was always just a little bit of a. So any questions on BNBP? If you have questions, just let me know. I know some of you guys despise it. That's all right. The game, hold on, I gotta turn this off. That music was playing in the back. That music was playing in the background. Don't accept money. I accept donations to spook. Oh God. I hope it doesn't hurt you too bad. Yeah, I accept donations. You want to send me one? Or I'll boot you. How about that? You send me a donation or I'll kick you out of here for life. Believe it or not, you actually have to sustain yourself when you're doing stuff, so it is helpful. I got 10 BNBP from Bullish at the first launch. I've been staking ever since. Hey, nice. Dude, I've given away at least 300 BNBP. Bullish gave away a lot. Jacob's given away a lot. Like, I've given away a fudge ton. I gave someone $500 worth the last time I streamed. You know what I mean? How much time we got left? All right, we'll run through the Twitter. I know you guys want to see it. So I've been a little crazy on Twitter because everyone's cognitive dissonance is booting them in the head. So here's a tweet from this morning. Yesterday I tweeted, Richard, don't suck middleman, D. Suck mine. And I thought that was perfect timing, perfect everything. Like it was perfectly worded. Like, come on, that's exactly true. And then the Hexagon COD, some random broken toy. I really hope you stick to this and leave the community. RH is trying to save you, and you've been nowhere without him. Your first jump is to a coin that lost 99% in value and have made any highs. You're doing harm. This is probably Richard. Like, this is directly out of Richard. But he's like, the price chart didn't go up. Everyone's getting hurt, right? Right? No, that's how you trick stupid people. So this is either him or a stupid person. And they say this because they don't understand why prices go up, what changes, and who actually makes the value, and what makes something valuable. This dude thinks $5 million in the USDC pool is saving everyone from themselves, but I'm here to say, you're retarded. Whoops. Piers.eth. Very few people are dialed in like GRC Salmon bullish in this space. Education every day for free. Yes. I don't leave. I am what I am. You guys just pick teams because you're little girls and cheerleaders, Mr. Crypto. Okay. You pick teams. I just live my life because I'm a man and a leader, and I do what I want. That's what you should do too. The community is just something to trick you into thinking that you're doing something. Very few people are dialed in. Oh, my bad. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really do appreciate that. All right. So, and then of course these exploded like wildfire. And then, so he says that, and then I said, I hope Richard will stick to talking S to everyone, blocking everyone who disagrees with him. It's a recipe for success, I tell you. And in my experience, it's a recipe for lying and brainwash and disgustingness. And I remember when I started watching Richard, everyone blocks me. Richard said, everyone blocks me. I can't even talk. I can't get my points out. I'm gatekept by everyone. He was lying. Now he's doing the same thing. It's just the facts of the matter. I'm not saying any of this thing's good or bad or a rug or not. I'm just saying he's lying. He's bullshitting. He's flip-flopping. This is what guys that don't cover their tracks, you got to stay sharp. You got to have guys that got your back, that tell you when you're wrong. You got to have dudes that check you. He's unchecked. He's got no one to check him. Someone check this guy. You got to let people check you, though. So, yeah, I don't think blocking everyone and, talking shit is the way to the future. I think we should all have more synergy. Some people really can't handle not having any expectations. I've now spoken with 6 people who are selling Hex at a massive losses because they have no clarity on the Pulsex will launch, no expectations. All right. Be wary of crypto influencers. They preach one thing and do another. Talk down on Zen. You're probably minting in secret. Secrets don't, especially in crypto. Keep up. Hey, thank you so much, Locked In Profit. That's a very nice message, and I very much appreciate you. Thank you so much. That's beautifully well said. I think that's so true. You know what these guys are doing. Guys, I hawk all these wallets. I was watching this wallet yesterday that was buying billions of Zen, and it had so much ASICs, and it was like dumping all of the Hex that it had from like early on. And I was just like, Jesus Christ, like this is crazy. Like this is not because of me. I didn't do any of this shit. I just stream every day. Like it's crazy. Code is code, but you need a liquidity pool, Hex logic. Someone's got to put money in there. You need people. Code is nothing without people. Wow, what an amazing stream so far. And I got so many streams coming up. So if you guys are not subscribed and hitting the bell, you're in trouble. And if you don't support me like that, and like you don't want to promote me, just don't talk in the chat. Just listen. Just listen and take notes on the stuff because I'm not bullshitting. Like I'm trying to figure out what's right. And I'm trying to go, well, they're selling at the lows because they think, well, Hex Logic, what they're trying to say is they don't believe that. They think the only thing that keeps Hex going is Pulsechain. Therefore, if they're not certain about Pulsechain, they're not certain about Hex. That would be more what they were saying. So if they could still get valuation out, they will, because they maybe don't feel like it'll be there in the future. And that could be wrong, but it could be true. Guys, there's a live AMA with CZ right now. I'm going on it.
Good time off.
We're on
Some
it.
time off and take
You
some
know
rest.
I'm on this, dude. All right.
Cheers. Yep. Thank you. Yep. All right. Well, Miss.
We've got 5 minutes left. Sphinx, would you like to go?
Hi, thank you very much, Cece. Thank you for being here. I wanted to see if you could just address, and apologies if you've already discussed this, but the sort of the seemingly unfair backlash you've been getting just from the whole FTX thing, and people pointing to systems being down for maintenance for long periods of time, and sort of that sort of thing. If you could just comment on that. And I appreciate you bringing me up. I appreciate you bringing a lot of people up today and coming here, and looking forward to meeting you. Thank you so much.
Sure. I don't think we had a significant system outage. There's only one thing I can recollect, which is we had a 6-hour window where the USDC withdrawal was paused, but every other stable coin, every other coin works. And that was actually due to a bank closure, because part of the conversion of USDC depends on a bank. And USDC is one of the very stable coins, are the very few coins that we actually convert from one to one. Every other asset, we just hold us whatever our users have. So, and then other than that, there's quite a bit of backlash. But guess what? Looking back, I think that helps us right now, right? So now everyone's talking about us backlash. So now the smarter people understand. They're actually sympathizing with us. They understand that Binance was, and actually, interestingly, most of the people who backlashed or attacked us right afterwards were actually supporters of FTX, with media, with KOLs, with whoever else. Many of those guys supported FTX, and even after FTX failed, attacked Binance. And guess what? The smarter people like, hey, those guys are just attacking, they're just in bed with FTX. So now the attack, especially from the media, actually unites our community. So our community is actually defending us much stronger than if we didn't have those attacks. So all of you guys are sympathetic to our cause and sympathetic to our position. And you guys are helping to defend Binance. Which actually makes us a much stronger community. It may be a slightly smaller community than, but it's a much more solid community. And at Binance, we don't have to grow at a breakneck speed. We don't have to grow at a certain speed. We're fine. We're profitable. We're sustainable. We can be here for a long time. So we actually want a solid foundation. We want tight. Actually, we don't want users who may trade with us and then, or who may create an API key on their account, lose it, and then blame us because they stored it on some other third-party platform. We don't want those type of users. We want the users who are smart, who are sophisticated, who are strong, and who believes in our long-term mission. So it's actually not that bad. So I think with all those attacks, etc., with people withdraw, some people we did have net withdrawals over the last couple of weeks. So our user asset reserves shrunk. So that means number of users withdrawing is more than the number of people depositing in the last couple of weeks. But guess what? It's only like 5 or 10%. And the 90% of us that's still with us are much, much stronger. So we actually got rid of the guys who were not very tightly with us have left. And the 90% of people who are remaining are very strong. And this is why I'm very, very confident about 2023. So that's a bit longer answer, but it's not everything negative is bad. We get put through tests. It's good. And I think if I was a user, I would like to see Binance being put through some tests and survive. So now we've survived. The user confidence in ourselves should be stronger. Yeah.
Thanks, Izzy. I think we've got a minute left. Probably time for one more. Miss Team Crypto?
I
Would you like to
think
go?
we can go a little bit longer, like maybe 45 minutes or so at least. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, it's a holiday
Miss
season.
Team
I don't really
Crypto.
have much. I don't really have much else to do.
Thank you so much, Binance. Hi, CZ. I hope you're doing well. I know it's been a few months since we spoke. You've been doing so much. And like we even spoke about on my show, you travel to countless countries trying to spread adoption constantly. And one thing that I thought was really cool that you guys have been doing is Binance Pay. And I think that's going to help spread a lot of adoption. How do you feel about Binance Pay? And I hope we get it in New York soon, but I know New York's really difficult. But how do you feel about Binance Pay? And how do you feel about adoption overall in 2023?
Yeah, so there's a few different things there, which is quite interesting. So actually, in terms of countries traveled, I would like to share with people that this year alone, from January till now, I've traveled to 43 different countries, and many of those countries multiple times. So that's a lot of traveling. And I've been on an airplane close to 600 hours, more than like professional pilots, more than some professional pilots. And also in terms of user adoption, we've seen different swings in different places, which is really, really interesting. So our core sort of exchange user base is of course high frequency traders, etc. But we have seen other use cases taking off, as you mentioned, Binance Pay, but many other things. Even savings and earn programs are actually attracting a lot of new users. So Pay and Earn are actually attracting a very high number of new users. Also, Binance P2P have grown a lot in the last year or two, and mainly especially in places where banks don't work with crypto businesses. So and also in regions where banking penetration is low, Binance Pay really excels. So in Africa, most other crypto businesses are not, especially Western-based crypto businesses are not focused in this type of regions. Whereas, look, I went to 5 different countries in Africa this year, and the use case there is very different. So just to be very blunt, the per capita GDP is lower in much lower in Africa. So basically, it's a poor demographics. They don't trade very much. They don't generate much revenue for Binance. But we have a large number of users there that just use Binance Pay, which is free. But we are able to bring them into the crypto financial economy. So they don't have access to banks. Banking penetration in Africa is only like 11%. So 89% of people don't have banks, but they are now able to access financial services through blockchain. So they're kind of bypassing the banking stage. So we do a lot of this stuff, which is very interesting. Yeah, again, they don't generate much revenue for us, but a user is a user, and we want to be, as long as they're using our tools, then we're providing value. So that's so that's been very rewarding over the last year.
Awesome. Umbrella, I think you're next.
Yeah, thanks, Binance and CZ. I watched the video you had with the dev, and I guess my kind of question is, how do we bring back honor to kind of the crypto ecosystem, and ensure we don't have bad actors like FTX and SBF and all the CeFi lenders that kind of went down over the last year?
Yeah, that's not an easy one. I think, look, if I was actually talking with a different friend from Morgan Stanley a couple of days ago, and then we're talking about when we let go of people, how much severance do we pay, how do we maintain relationships afterwards, etc. And they were saying 10 years ago. Well, this is a person that worked in Morgan Stanley 10 years ago. She was very senior. And she was saying, look, most people that they let go, they give them very nice severances. They part on good terms because they want to retain their honor. They want, it's just a natural thing to do. And it's not just about severance packages. It's about how you do business, how you conduct yourself, short-term greed versus long-term gains. And our society today have moved increasingly to the short-term gains. This happens in traditional financial industries. This happens actually probably a lot more in crypto, because in crypto it's so much easier to make money. You can issue a coin, you can get a couple exchanges to list you, and then you can walk away with a few $1 million or a few tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of dollars. And people just do that, and then they either if they have enough, they rather retire or they try again. This creates a problem. So I think it's not an easy problem to solve. But actually, for Binance, we're kind of lucky in a position. Number one, we are a influential crypto player. We can lead by example. We're large enough that we're profitable enough that we can lead by example without getting sort of hurt. So we can help to set some standards where we can keep lowering fees. We do not support projects who are into short-term gains. For this reason, many of the decisions we make, for example, I wrote multiple articles. I recommend founder locking schedules to be 10 years instead of 2 years or 1 year, which we see commonly for project founders. So this way, for project founders to realize their full benefits, they need to stay in a project for 10 years. Traditional industries, most stock options vest in 4 years, but in traditional industries, after your stock options vest, the company, it may not be liquid. The company may or may not be public. Whereas in crypto, if you can get a small exchange to list your coin, you have liquidity, or you can list it on DEX. So the world is changing a bit because the liquidity portion is much more solved using blockchain technologies and with Binance and other centralized exchanges, etc. But because of that, I think we need longer time to lock in founders. We need slightly different incentive structures that focus on the long term instead of the short term. So that's what we've been trying to do. A year and a half ago, it was quite difficult when we say, hey, look, when we hire somebody, we say, look, we'll give you a low, fairly decent, but not a super high salary, pretty low. And then your stock options will vest over much longer, while your token options will vest over a much longer period of time. We very often lose a lot of people to other players who give them millions of dollars on sign-on bonuses and very high salaries, much shorter token vesting plans, basically short-term incentives. So I think in my mind, we just got to balance short-term versus long-term incentives. And because of the position we have in the industry now, we can do that without getting too much competition with the rest of players. So we can lead by example. So hopefully we can do some of that. We'll see.
And just so you guys know, I think the bull run will start in 2023 for sure. Because of innovation, because of technology, and because of this big shift that's going on now. Big changes, but big changes. It's going to be crazy. But that's how bull runs are made. I think it's this year. I mean, 2023.
I think our product, well, first of all, I think we have a lot of room to improve on product, a lot of room to improve on services. Product-wise, there's a few different areas. We have a very comprehensive product offering. Like we have many different products, many different features, all combined into one app. And it's daunting for a new user, and then it's very difficult to discover for an intermediate user. And it may not be enough for an advanced user. So we need to somehow make that user journey work much better. So we need to very quickly figure out if a user is more advanced user or a more novice user, and just give them the right product set, and without overwhelming them with a lot of different numbers. We have a lot of workflows that are very cumbersome. A lot of the KYC workflows are cumbersome as hell. They're not localized. They don't use localized solutions. They don't use local national databases. They use some, international KYC solution that's usually only tailored to the United States or some other or Europe or some other developed country. For example, in Nigeria, people don't have addresses. Many people don't have addresses. So proof of address is, a different. It should be a very different workflow in some of those regions. So our products are not localized enough. I think of all the crypto players, we are the most localized by far, probably by 10x. But we can probably go another 10x more. So we can probably do 100x. And then and then on many of the product features, the feature can be done better. There's a lot of room to improve. On customer service, actually, we have improved quite a lot over the last 2 years. At the beginning of 2021, our customer support was really bad because beginning of 2021, the amount of new users coming to crypto was increasing at a very exponential pace. At the time, we had about 300 customer support agents, and we were just overrun. And since then, we have made a lot of efforts to improve that. Our customer support team is about 3,000 people or more, and we have automated a lot of the areas. So today, when you come to Binance for a live chat, your first couple questions probably asked by a bot on an AI, and then the AI 70 to 75% of the issues are fixed by the AI within first response. So 75% first contact resolution. And then the 25%, we have 3,500 people or so handling it. But we can improve a lot more. We can make our product so that we reduce a lot of the demand to come to us for help. Basically, make the product easier to use, and then we can also improve our customer support quality. So on all of those two are the very fundamental things. I think compliance, we also have done a tremendous job over the last year in increasing, last year and a half or so, in increasing our ability to do KYCs, AMLs, transaction monitoring, many of these functions. We can probably expand this to more localized countries, cover more countries, more localized solutions, etc. So yeah, there's a lot of, we always have room to improve, and there's a lot to do. So our bottleneck for growth has not been money, has not been regulations. It has always been the amount of people, the best people that we can hire. So it has always been about people. So if we can hire more smart people to join us, not just smart, just effective people, people who can deliver to join us, then we grow. So we gotta improve our hiring as well. So yeah, many things to do in 2023.
Cool. Thank you, Susie. Bitcoin Raider, are you there?
Hey CZ, what's going on? What's up, Binance community? So like, first time I've talked to you in a while. So what I'm curious to find out, I've worked a lot in the DeFi space with lots of projects like the Polygon team, QuickSwap DEX, and I've done a lot of work with Binance Smart Chain projects. So like my question is, you know, with all the stuff going on, obviously, it's you know, trust is like probably the #1 factor in the crypto space right now. So how do we recreate this trust factor, bridging DeFi to CeFi? I've been using Trust Wallet forever, and MetaMask and everything else, but how do we bridge that trust factor between DeFi and CeFi, like, in order to really create trust in the industry?
Sure. I think, you know, there's different levels of trust, right? So many in our industry says, look, we rely on trustless technologies, meaning that the technology is strong enough so that we don't rely on trust. So Bitcoin blockchain or native blockchains are all like that to a large extent. I think Bitcoin blockchain is probably the strongest. And then other blockchains are kind of, you know, depending on their market size usually indicates the trustness of the community in some of those blockchains. But mind you that even the Bitcoin blockchain in theory could be subjected to 51% attacks. But I don't think will happen. I don't think it won't succeed, but it could happen. But there's no financial incentive in doing that anymore. And then the DeFi versus CeFi, in my view, is a spectrum. It's not just a black and white. Some people say, hey, look, not your keys, not your coins. So you should hold your own coins. And you can choose any variety of wallet. There's many different wallets out there for holding your own coins. Trust Wallet is one. Guess what? BitKeep is one. BitKeep just had an instant where hackers were able to hack $8 million worth of user assets by replacing the APK people download, you know, the app that people download from different websites. So there's different attack vectors in different for different technologies. Nothing, very few things are 100%, hacker proof, etc. So there are different risk factors, the different trust levels, and
So I
then
got a
for the
question.
yeah,
Do you
but
do you think it's like a hot wallet versus a cold wallet issue, or like how do you compartmentalize risk? Because I agree with you. Like I saw the BitKey hack, for example. So there's no secure, option out there per se. Is it a cold wallet issue? Is it a hot wallet issue? Is it a compartmentalization issue? Like how do we limit the issue with users being able to get exposed? Like across the space, DeFi or CeFi, it feels like maybe there's a software solution that needs to come out. Like, I don't know. I'm not an expert in software, but curious your thoughts on that.
So my thoughts on that is nothing is 100%. So you just got to learn to manage it. And I tweeted that you need to learn risk management this morning because of the big KIP situation. Well, there's different ways, right? So the big KIP situation could be avoided. If I wrote an article called CZ Safe Tips for holding your own crypto. So if you Google CZ Safe Tips, you'll find the article. In the article, I talk about how do you hold your coins on your own in your own wallet. What are the security measures you need to do? And that was the first 6 pages of that blog article. And then the next 6 pages, I talk about CeFi. So I actually devote more time on the DeFi part first. And then in the article, I said, look, one of the things if you want to do is you're supposed to download the software, wait for 72 hours before you install it. This may or may not help you with a big KIP situation. I don't know how long that software is out there, but there have been cases where the official wallets of the wallet software you download from official websites were replaced by hackers with a malicious version, and they were only discovered. Usually, they were discovered within a day or so. But I don't know how long the big KIP thing was happening. And then if you're gonna use a like a mobile app, one thing I would suggest is don't just use multiple wallets, use multiple exchanges, etc. There are mobile wallets, there are spending wallets, there are cold wallets, there are hardware wallets, there are other wallets. Each wallet are generally used for different purposes. And even exchanges, not all exchanges are the same. So on the CeFi you mentioned earlier, how do we bridge that trust? On the CeFi part, trust really have to be earned. We still rely on technology very heavily, but users when they use a centralized solution like like a centralized exchange, they need to over time learn to trust that exchange and also how to use that exchange securely themselves. So that trust is earned over time through repeated actions, through repeated testing, etc. In this regard, the longer running exchanges have a benefit. The larger exchanges have a benefit because more people voted for those exchanges with their money, basically. So yeah, I mean, there's no shortcuts. I think over time, trust just have to be earned and being built.
Awesome, thanks, Susie. How are you feeling?
I think we can probably do 2 more questions and then yeah, we'll call it a day. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
We got funding jam.
Funding jam. Would you like to go?
Hey,
Sorry,
hey, Susie, I had another question. So I kind of come from more of like the cypherpunk background, so I'm inherently more, inclined to want to self-custody and keep things away from exchanges. So keep that in mind. But I guess one concern I have as like a U.S. resident with Binance is that there's been a lot of like historical controversy with Binance US. Like I know there was like the Tai Chi report saying it was basically like a front to distract regulators. And then there was some on-chain sleuths that said that there was funds being moved between Binance US wallets and Binance wallets international. And I'm curious, like, if you could address those rumors, because I saw a report on this and it was obviously somewhat concerning.
Sure, I'll take the time to address it. The Tai Chi article was first reported by Forbes in 2018. And then actually after some time, we dug out a email from that time period, from when that report was from that document was produced. That document was produced by a third-party consultant as a proposal for us. And then there was actually an email from my assistant saying that we will not follow that proposal. So also to our team and also to our external lawyers at the same time. So the third-party external lawyers can vouch for it. And we have the email record. So this is something that's very clearly a consultant produces a paper. The title is very bad. But to be honest, the word Tai Chi itself isn't anything wrong. It's a bad perception. I agree with that. But we also have an email clearly saying that we're not going to follow it. And then this topic has been brought up probably 1,000 times over the last 3 or 4 years over different places. But it's just how it is. Once you start a rumor, they keep coming back. The recent US to Binance.com international transactions, Binance US accepts international clients. They are market makers that work on both. They transfer funds. And to the normal user, it looks like hot wallet to hot wallet or even cold wallet to hot wallet transfers. I also wrote an article recently talking about how our wallets work. When there's a large withdrawal, we sometimes process directly from cold wallet if the size is big enough. So that's just normal business. There's nothing to it. And then on your first point about holding coins in their own wallet, your own wallets, I always recommend people to do that if they can. And also, if you have money that you don't need, feel free. We give people options. You can use Trust Wallet. You can use a hardware wallet. You can store it on centralized exchanges that you trust. But understand the risks in each of those 3 approaches, right? So there are different risk factors. We just provide choices for people to choose from.
Thanks, ZZ. Time for our last one then. Funding Jim, would you like to go?
Hey, ZZ. My name is Gary, known as Funding Jim, but I really appreciate you holding this AMA. My question is, because I do travel internationally a lot, and over the past 2 to 3 years, some of the countries have even become war-torn, like in Ukraine. I found Binance to be very easy for people to adopt crypto in that country before the war especially, and it actually helped a lot of people be able to immigrate in conflict. So I appreciate a lot of the adoption efforts that your company has done. That's just the first thing. The second thing is, I am curious about your opinion, not just in 23, 24, which is just the near horizon. What is your opinion about is crypto effectively a parallel
That's
economy,
me and Funding Jim in Vegas.
a parallel to fiat?
Look at the stash.
Or do you think that it will always be effectively a tech stock, a bridge from fiat into some kind of asset class that performs and then exits back into fiat? Thank you so much.
Sure. Thanks for the nice words. And for the second question, is it a parallel thing or is it going to be integrated, etc.? It's not black or white. It's not like it's a spectrum. I think today it's more or less a parallel thing, and still a very early niche tech thing. So basically, if you look at the numbers, right, global crypto adoption is probably less than 5% in terms of number of people who have some kind of crypto. So that means if you grab 100 guys off the 100 random guys off the streets and just say, look, how many of you guys have any kind of crypto? You probably get 5 people. But then if you ask the second question, how much of your net worth is in crypto? The average of those 5 people is probably less than 10%. So net worth wise, we probably have less than 0.5% adoption into crypto. So 99.5% of the net worth are still in traditional financial industries. And then, so today it's more of still a very niche thing. It's still very early, etc. But if you look at the use cases that have taken off in crypto, there are some really interesting use cases that does not exist in traditional financial systems. Global fundraising. Historically, if you're an entrepreneur, you have to raise money through VCs or your families and friends. You can raise, I don't know, $500,000 the first time, 6 months later. You can raise, if you do successfully, you can raise 2, then 6 months later, you can maybe 5, 10, So it takes you a couple of years to raise 10, 15, $20 million. With blockchain, a strong founder with a white paper, with some kind of prototype or product can raise $20 million in a matter of days, and they're usually oversubscribed. So now that's a killer app. Global remittances, global transactions, micropayments, tips, NFTs. Why does artists want to sell their arts through NFTs now? Why is it, still a lot of people issuing NFTs, including the president of the United States or the ex-president of the United States? Because it's an easy way for artists, for people to monetize their name, their work, their reputation, etc. I've talked to artists who every artist that I talk to who issued NFT says they get 10x more money than through traditional means. So if they just sell the article to through an art gallery, they get 10x less. So these are some of the use cases where crypto allows them to tap into a global audience or global number of supporters. And also for investors, guess what? If you are if you have some spare cash in some developing country, you don't have a chance to invest in Google in the early days. You don't have a chance to invest in Uber in the early days, and then you have to buy the public stock after they go live or they go public. And public stocks have not been performing very well over the last few years. So now, as investors, you have a chance to participate in projects that you like in different parts of the world in small amounts. So if you want to, the use cases are really new. That doesn't exist. The new use cases that's taking off in crypto are so far has not been the mainstream use cases that exist in traditional financial markets. And then we look at payments. Payments have really only slowly started to increase recently, and this is like 12 years after the Bitcoin white paper, which in the white paper it says electronic cash payment system. So I think the use cases are still different. And then will crypto continue to be parallel system or not? It depends on a lot of different factors. Today it looks like it's going to be more parallel for the next little while, because the traditional financial players are much more reluctant to work with crypto businesses due to recent events. We're seeing many banks withdraw support. We're seeing many banks that previously serviced crypto businesses, including crypto exchanges, withdraw their support for crypto exchanges recently because of the recent events, mostly because of FTX. So in the short term, I think we're going to see less integration between traditional financial industries versus crypto. So short term, we're going to see them being in parallel. But I think long term, for benefits of both economies, integration is better. Having an easy fiat bridge into crypto and vice versa is the best way for both crypto to grow, but also for traditional financial institutions to stay relevant in the future of fintech. So this is like a digital camera. This is like a 200K pixel digital camera. It's not great. It doesn't produce the same quality of pictures as film cameras. This is more like digital cameras 20, 30 years ago. But over time, this technology will take over, and the service providers that don't adopt this technology will have a significant disadvantage. So that's how I see it. Yeah. But things could change, right? So now it's this, but 6 months later, things could change. So it's hard to say. Yeah. All right, I think that's about it. We went on for an hour.
Yeah, it was a pretty good stint. Really appreciate your time, Susie.
Cheers. Guys, I'm jacked up. Everyone knows it. Let's just go to deck screener real quick so I can not look at it anymore for a while. Jesus Lord. What goes up must come down, blah, 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 all the stuff. It's just a pump, guys. It's not a huge deal. We went from about 502 to 506 in 2 days. That's in anticipation. People are buying all the liquid off the market. Remember, the market cap is only $5 million. There's only that so much on the market. People don't really understand how pinched off the market really is, being that the first day everyone did mostly 100 days, and then after that everyone was shooting them long and then buying liquid. People think that liquid's just in existence forever, but there's very small amount. Think about it. The market cap is 5 million. Do yourself a little favor and figure out how the market cap is figured out, and keep an eye on all those metrics as we move into the next. It's all about growth in people, new users, global, community, trusted founder. It's going to be interesting. People think I'm like banking my reputation on shit too. It's like, I could give a fuck what y'all think. I'm just being honest. Everyone knows it. That's out of the matrix. So yeah, we'll see some nice little action there. But the liquidity is very dense already on the USDC pair, and that's losing liquidity quick. It was at 1.1 or 2 million. That's because that market, people are going to take out. Well, when the market goes up, people's positions get one-sided and they pull out. But other than that, it's like people are trying to get in position so they don't miss things. So the liquidity is going to get tightened up. Don't you think people with a lot of Zen will milk liquidity for years and 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 years to come? Of course, bro. That's it. It's a dumper token, bro. Just like Bitcoin, just like ETH, just like Hex, inflationary forever. It doesn't go up. Come on, bro. How many times have we been through this? It's about the distribution rate to via who got it. How many different people got their hands on it? How many diverse, real use case? More people, more community, more guys working hard and being transparent and coming on streams and talking to everyone and being as open as humanly possible. More of that, more of that, more of that. GRC ignores others. Keep doing what you do. I do. There's like 4 guys that I don't ignore. Richard is just bopped off that list. He's like 6 or 7 now because he's just, everything he says is worth ignoring. But back in the day, it was not the case. Anyway, guys, crypto in the morning every single day. I got BNBP episode tonight. I'll probably pop on again if I'm feeling it. If there's something pops off, I'm like, but we got to focus up. Focus up, be safe, protect your money, protect your emotional space. And one way to protect your emotional space is by learning all the things that you buy and do and pay attention to. Learn them. Actually learn them. Don't just put your money in something and pray. And pray that it'll go up. That's disgusting. It's stupid. It's how losers do things. Just because you make a bunch of money doesn't mean anything. It's about reputation. It's about morals. It's about who cares about you. It's about what you want. It's about your goals. It's about your mission. Money is on that list, but it's not number one. All you need is food, a car, a place, a little situation. That ain't that much money, fam. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. Beautiful woman every once in a while doesn't kill you. Come on, this is a family show, GRC. All right, I'm out of here, guys. Crypto in the morning every single day, 11 a.m. Eastern. You already know what time it is.
You already know what time it is. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. 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 Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some Hex and I'm making a stake. Got me some Hedron, I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that's just in case. GymRatCrypto sent me to show you the way.